I arrived early because that's what I always did. Arrive early. Bring something unnecessary but useful. Fill the gaps before anyone noticed them. I set the bread on the counter, put the wine where it would be found, and asked if there was anything else. There never was. There never needed to be. My hands already knew where to go. The house looked the same in a way that made time feel optional. Same tablecloth, same small nick on the chair near the window. Same calendar turned to January before December had finished. It was comforting, if you didn't look too closely at what comfort cost. We ate slowly. Forks clinked. The conversation circled safely: weather, a neighbor's new dog, the roadwork near campus. I watched my brother avoid eye contact with anything that might require an opinion. He had learned early that neutrality was a kind of shelter. I poured more water than I drank. Habit again. I had been sending money for years, little amounts at first, then not so little, always framed as temporary. Help. Not obligation. Just until things settled. Things never settled. They rearranged the expectation that I would be there, filling in. My dad cleared his throat with ceremony, the way he did when he wanted witnesses. You'll be paying for your brother's tuition now, he said, looking straight at me. 12,000. You must. He didn't smile. He didn't soften as an announcement, not a question. The room felt suddenly arranged for an audience. I remember noticing the steam rising from the potatoes, how it blurred the light above the stove. I remember thinking that 12,000 wasn't actually the thing. The thing was the word must. The thing was how easily he had decided the shape of my next year. I picked up my glass because my hands needed somewhere to go. The sound it made when I tapped it was polite. Almost cheerful. You shouldn't live at my expense, I said. My voice surprised me by being steady. So I won't send you any more money. This family will no longer receive money from me. Silence landed unevenly. Like something dropped that didn't break right away. My mother's fork slipped from her hand and hit the plate. Then the table. She stared at it as if it had betrayed her. My brother leaned toward me, eyes wide, and whispered. What? No one spoke, not immediately. There was a pause where everyone seemed to be checking the rules, seeing if they still worked. I felt a tightness in my chest that wasn't panic, exactly. More like recognition. I had rehearsed this moment without knowing I was rehearsing it. Every transfer. Every, thank you. That meant, course. Every month I delayed my own plans because someone else's were louder. You don't mean that, my dad said finally. He said it calmly, the way you correct a factual error. I do. I said. I didn't explain. I didn't list reasons. I had learned that explanations were invitations. My brother pushed his chair back an inch, then pulled it forward again. He looked embarrassed, not angry. That hurt more than anger would have. We might have stayed there, suspended in that uncomfortable middle, if not for the phone. My dad's phone buzzed on the counter. He ignored it at first. It buzzed again, longer this time. He frowned, annoyed at the interruption, and put it on speaker without looking at the screen. Hello, he said. Mr. Harris. A woman's voice said, crisp and unmistakably professional. This is Marianne from First State Bank. I'm calling regarding an attempted transfer initiated from your account. My mother looked up. My brother froze. We flagged the transaction because it exceeded your usual transfer limits. The voice continued. Additionally, the recipient account requires authorization we don't currently have on file. My dad stood hat back down. I was just. He began. I'll need to verify. Marianne said, unhurried. But before we proceed, I should let you know that the recipient has already contacted us today to revoke standing consent for third-party transfers. I felt every eye in the room turn toward me. That's correct, I said, because someone had to say it. I called this morning. There it was. Authority. Clean and procedural, stepping into the space where assumptions had lived. Not dramatic. Just fino. Marianne said, still to my dad. Without that consent we can't complete the transfer. You'll receive a formal notice by email. The line went dead, no one moved. The air felt thinner, but also clearer, like a window had been opened in winter. My dad's face had changed, not angry, not shocked. Something more careful. He looked at me as if seeing a boundary for the first time and realizing it was made of something solid. You planned this. My mother said softly. It wasn't an accusation, it was a realization. I prepared, I said. It felt important to say it that way. We finished dinner in fragments. Food was moved. Chewed, swallowed, but no one tasted much. My brother apologized to the table instead of to me, a reflex he would probably unlearn someday. Or not. When I stood to leave, my dad didn't stop me. He said, "We'll talk about this." Which was the closest he could get to acknowledging that something had shifted. Outside, the air was sharp. I sat in my car for a long moment before starting it, letting the quiet settle. Relief came in small waves, followed by grief. Followed by something like space. Space where expectations had been. Later alone, I opened my laptop and looked at my accounts. The numbers hadn't changed yet, but the meaning had. For the first time, they felt like mine without explanation. I knew there would be consequences. Awkward holidays. Conversations that circled and never landed. A brother who might resent me for a while. Parents who would have to learn a different language. But there was also the absence of the next demand. The quiet after the rule breaks and nothing explodes. It wasn't victory. It wasn't even peace. It was dignity, regained without spectacle. And it felt, cautiously, like the beginning of a life that wouldn't require permission.